There's that opening scene in The Hobbit where Bilbo says, "Good morning," to Gandalf, and Gandalf gets all comically philosophical on him. What do you mean by that? Good. I think we all know the scene. If not, there's your homework. Go read the book, go watch the movie. I have similar thoughts when someone says, he's a good man. Like, what does that mean, good? Or even broader, they were men back then. Well, what does that mean back then? Okay. If you look at the men of old, men pre-industrial revolution, there are 5 general characteristics that we've lost as modern men that by reclaiming, well, I think you'll catch a flicker of the glory, because this has not been a season of cultural glory for men, for masculinity, for manliness, for manhood. But we will turn things, I believe, if we can reclaim these 5 things. First, we pursue achievement. They pursued character. Very different things. When men used to work the land back then with their families, mastering a trade, they didn't compete with each other like we do. Instead, they defined themselves by their moral qualities, who they were, and what it felt like to be around them. That mattered to them more than what they did. Society burdened, in a good sense, men back then with high expectations to pursue virtues over success, which we don't have these burdens anymore. When the Industrial Revolution hit and men got plucked off the land and shoved into factories, men started competing with each other, which, corporate world doesn't bring out morality, but a mission to get ahead. You and I must begin right now to return to prioritizing character over achievement, even character at the expense of achievement. So I want to ask you, what's your next step here? Second, we embrace the individual. They, men of old, pursued the community. Historian Gordon Wood wrote that men, in quotes, were expected to suppress their private wants and interests and develop disinterestedness, the term the 18th century most often used as a synonym for civic virtue. I think that's so cool, a disinterestedness. Man, if we could reclaim that. They called it communal manhood. How might I use my power and strength and masculine gifts as a sacrifice for the common good? That is upside down of our instincts today, personal ambition, fulfilling self, coming home for me. We are hyper individualistic, hyper lonely. But if we were able to re-shoulder our schools, our city, our church, our neighborhood, all of us, things would so rapidly change in this culture, but we just don't think the costs are worth it, do we? Because the costs are ourselves. But if you and I re-shoulder the community at the expense of ourselves, maybe just starting with our neighborhood, man, what is like low-hanging? What is a low-hanging win that could start spilling out your manhood over and into your community? Think about those things and take one next step, because I think, again, things can change and turn so easily. Third is men of old nurtured their kids spiritually while we neglect them. If you aren't a dad, think about your disciple. Then who are you discipling? You get a good glimpse into an era of history. This is just a good practice for historians by analyzing its literature of the day. What were people writing about at the time, and to whom? Get this, for a period of time, pre-industrial revolution, the tracts, Christian tracts, gospel tracts, and books for discipling and spiritually leading kids was addressed to the men, to the fathers, not the moms, not the teachers. Consider that for a moment. It's not a hit to moms or teachers. It's just that dads, as their role is biblically, dads were stepping up and they were pouring out. Mary Ryan wrote this in the pages of the Presbyterian, Methodist, and Baptist press. It was fathers rather than mothers who exercised supreme authority and responsibility in the education of children. Oh, how things have changed. As a pastor, I see it and I lament where anything spiritual is exported right now to private schools, to churches, to moms, never men. You and I must sacrifice good things for great things here. And it starts today, not tomorrow. Use my videos to tee you up for a good conversation with your kiddo. That's one thing I'm really working on. Actually, this is so important that I'm going to turn it into 2 points. I just did nurture versus neglect. Let's twist the diamond and say the men of old enriched, we entertain. And I know this hurts, but we both know it's killing us. And I'm really just going to funnel it down to one word: screens. While I was in seminary, during our homiletics or preaching class, they taught us to never make yourself the hero of your own story. But I'm going to do a quick exception real quick. My wife and I made a change to screens 2 years back that overnight, and when I say overnight, I mean overnight, changed the game for us and our family, especially as we talk about the mornings before school and with devotionals. And it was this: no TV, no screens before school. Quiet, screenless mornings have become this open space that we cherish. Listen, that's us. You got to make your own decision. Time won't happen on its own. You got to carve it. In a book called Family Men, historian Sean Johansson wrote that, and I quote, religious fathers encouraged church attendance, held family prayer, hymn singing in their homes, discussed gospel topics, and sometimes used the Bible as an early primer in childhood education. What will be written about us, friends? You and I must kill 20% of entertainment. Let's just start there for 20% more enrichment. And then I think we build from there. Fifth and last, men of old used to interdepend upon women instead of isolate from them. And here's what I mean. Historian John Gillis said that men, in quotes, were as comfortable in the kitchen as women, for they had responsibility for provisioning and managing the house, and that they were active in all the major nurturing and educational functions we now associate with motherhood. Back then, families worked together. And we are in this cultural moment of such at oddsness between male and female that it's killing us. Martin Luther called it interdependence. The family is this miniature society, and with the man at the helm. Whatever task is womanly to you, no. Co-labor in all things home and find joy interdepending on each other. It doesn't mean the man does it all, but it does mean the man can do it all. Let's not be worthless. Let's be manly. So what's a task you can step up into this week that will bless those you live with? What is a skill you need to learn? Let's not let the men of old outdo us any longer. These are some of my researched thoughts, and I would love to know, what would you add to the list? What do you have a question about? What would you push back on? I love the discussion. Use the comments below, and if you would subscribe, that would bless me, and I hope it would bless you as more of my content would come into your kind of sphere, your world, and we can develop that community. See ya.